Hey everybody, before we get started, I just want to remind you this episode is brought to you by patrons like Akodo Comics, Kwa, Jeremy Vasquez, Kylie Denton, Esther Flores, Sotosan0424, and ViewGamer75. If you like what we do and want to see us do more, consider supporting us on Patreon. You can get access to episodes early and lots of other goodies, and it really help us out. Thanks for your support, everyone. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. It is time once again to talk about Legend of the Five Rings by Fantasy Flight Games, cause it's Enter the Dojo. That's right, I still make these videos. So, we'll start in the intro with kind of a little bit of a mea culpa. So, I've been kind of putting this one off, because, well, one, I've been busy with lots of other stuff. Lots of stuff going on. Both channel projects and personal stuff, which may or may not become channel projects and other things. Check out our stuff. We got actual plays, we got podcasts, we got videos, we got other stuff we got to prep for. But anyway, I pushed this one back a little bit after our great, Halloween release and all that stuff, so we kind of missed some of the, I'll release 2 a month thing. But part of the reason why I pushed this off is because originally when I said I was going to do Akodo Commander, which is what we're doing today, we're going to talk about the Akodo Commander School, was that I thought, because this occasionally comes up, I was like, I want to do a big explanation dump on mass combat in the intro, which is something I do sometimes where I'm like, okay, let's talk about, both the narrative framing and the mechanics of some of this stuff. I really didn't want to do that. I'm sorry. This is a little bit different than, technique types and stuff, and I have alluded to specific rules with, dueling, for instance, before, in some of our very early stuff, talking about the Kakita, and so on and so forth, but on its own, it would be like trying to do a breakdown of an intrigue, right? It's a whole type of conflict scene. So discussing every possible move and every possible strategy for a mass combat and what you can do, I realized a little late that was too much. So today, I'm recording this. It's Thanksgiving, actually. So I hope everybody had a good holiday. This will come out on Black Friday. It's our Black Friday special. But I figured that I should go ahead and do the video, and I should just admit, I don't want to do a whole mass combat review. That might be its own video, separately. I've done stuff on, character creation, duty versus desire, and some other concepts. I could do one later on that point, maybe. Or especially considering I know FFG because I've been following Star Wars and now Genesis and now L5R for years. There's gonna be more mass combat stuff. Some people are like, oh man, mass combat's kind of samey. I'm like, yeah, just wait. They'll get you. Heck, sometimes mass combat's not even in the core book, but whatever. So, don't worry, they'll get you with even more stuff. Even more special things and special rule interactions that you can choose to add or not. So, that might come in a later product review. I don't know. But the point is, we're not going to dive into mass combat as a whole. What I will say is, similar to how I handled the original Kakita Duelist School, is because the Commander School is pretty good at mass combat and things, we're going to mention some stuff and kind of bring up how you say some specific situations where you will need to think about things they can do. So the primary, the actions of mass battle, the primary roles you're going to need, also including initiative, is you're going to need command. That's how initiative does in several of the checks, or tactics. So it's all fairly low TN tactics or command checks, the kind of thing that anybody can make untrained. But they tend to be reliant on bonus successes, which is something the school can be pretty good at. We'll talk about that in a second. So just in general, we're going to keep that in mind. When you're doing mass combat actions, command is important, tactics is important, bonus successes are important. So that will become clear why that's a whole thing as we get into the actual school. But I figured that'll be enough to kind of break that down. And then maybe at a later date, we'll discuss, kind of what actually works in mass combat, what doesn't, how you can keep them interesting, because I know that some people are like, man, mass combat seems kind of dull and samey. Well, like a lot of other conflict stuff, mass combat is one of those things that requires a little bit of narrative prep work, which FFG does not necessarily do for you. You need to actually, think about a battlefield and find a way to make it cool, because in order to avoid rules bloat, there's not 50,000 rules for and here's how you fight a mass battle on a hill, and here's how you fight a mass battle in a forest. It's just no, okay. Is it a forest? I guess it's obscuring terrain. And then forts have effects based on their scale, but that's a scale-based effect. So it's simplified so that you could add details you want to it. And it has some basic examples, but at some point, kids, you need to do the legwork on your own. Which is, I know, something that weirds out some people who are coming into this game. The idea that there's not a concrete list of a million examples of everything except opportunity. And even then, most of those are just suggestions that'll keep growing over time. So if you don't like opportunity charts, I have bad news. Anyway, yeah, so that's the intro. Let's go ahead and dive into our usual segment. We'll do all the different parts and things and the assets and move on. Okay. So's the Akodo Commander School, which is just tagged Bushi. Can be found in the core book, because we're still in core book schools, except for that little detour to Falcon, because that was fun and spooky. Though, well, I don't know if I'll still be incensed or not, but maybe around Valentine's Day, somebody remind me, and I'll see if I'll do maybe the Shika Matchmaker School, because I want to I know people, it's weird, people angrily ramble about the deer. I want to angrily ramble about people rambling about the deer, but that's definitely a different episode theme. So, Akodo Commander School, Bushi. You get your rings are earth and water. This confuses some people, by the way, but I think it makes sense for the Akodo. Water is flexibility, adaptability, awareness. The Akodo family and their commander school are said to have very open, observant, diligent minds, which are ready to, adapt to any problem. And adapt and overcome is kind of what Akodo himself was known for. Yes, he was a powerful fighter, but also he was kind of an asshole. Like, in leadership, his opinions on war were very much, all's fair in love and war kind of thing. Like, there's some stuff you don't touch on principle, but otherwise it's just do fucking whatever. And in fact, modern versions of leadership in Rokugan are censored because a later Imperial thought that some of these words couldn't possibly be from Lord Akodo, so they edited it. Anyway, you get 5 skills as typical for a straight Bushi school. Command, fitness, government, martial arts melee, martial arts ranged, meditation, and tactics. So, you've got some options, but you definitely see the feel there, okay? You've got 2 martial arts. You can be ranged or melee, or both. You've got command and tactics, which I have just mentioned are the core skills of mass combat. Then you got some other stuff. You got fitness. That's a pretty important skill for being a Bushi in general. Tanking hits, doing that kind of stuff, doing stuff on your own, but there's also government, if you are more passively leadership-leaning. If you're much more organizational or, governmental, gubernatorial. And meditation, where you can't go wrong with, because that's also an initiative skill for something else. But in general, you get a lot of martial skills, you get a lot of variety, and you can really pick your path, right? You might say to yourself, I'm not going to use a bow anytime soon, I'll pick up ranged later. You don't need a free point in ranged. You can pick up melee. I would recommend, if you are picking this school knowing for sure you're going to be going into some mass combat, you should probably pick up command and tactics, because they make sense. If you know for a fact you're picking this school, but you're not going to do any mass combat anytime soon, you might skip those and focus more on other fluff skills or skirmish-focused skills. Alright? You got an honor of 50. Your guy wrote the book on honor, so obviously you're high up there, though, like we said. This isn't quite, if I remember rightly, I think Matsu Berserker is 55. There are a couple of Honor 55 schools. Like, I think, Battle Maidens are also. Like, there are some people who are more hardcore, even than the guys who wrote the book on it. You get access to kata rituals and shuji, that's pretty typical. So, starting techniques, you can pick your preferred striking as kata. You can pick striking as earth, or striking as water. Both are pretty good, and kind of, I guess you could say, elucidate what kind of commander or fighter you are. Striking as earth lets you shore up your own defenses. And striking as water lets you break through even if an opponent has hardened defenses. Pretty solid. And you get primo access to Lord Akodo's Roar, which is interestingly enough, is a void shuju. So, basically, it was known that he could yell real loud and, bolster people's strength and stuff. So, basically, the way this one works is once per game session, you can make a TN1 command void, so you gotta be in void stance to make checks in void ring if you're in a conflict. You target each hostile character equal to the number of range bands in your school rank. If you succeed, they're all dazed. If you have some opportunity, another friendly character can immediately perform a strike action targeting a dazed character. So basically, you get to do a giant ki or Haka-chan and just go like, yeah! And then, you're powering up, everybody freaks out and freezes, And then if you have opportunity to spend, you can be like, hey, while I'm yelling at this guy, just punch him. In general, both very emblematic of the lion, and also a decent school ability, or decent kata, or shuji, I should say. It is a decent technique. Let me sort out my thoughts here. It's a decent technique for this school and theme. Because, one, it lets your allies take extra actions, right? If you roll the opportunity, you can help allies do it, and it's only you can only do it once per session, but it's a TN1 command check. Command is going to be one of your core skills, no matter what you're doing, I think, so solid choice there. And then also just dazing opponents, And then we've got your school ability, Way of the Lion. So, this is what I was talking about before with bonus successes, because bonus successes are key to a lot of mass combat actions. Now, the way this works is, when you succeed on an attack or support action check, you may remove an amount of strife from yourself up to your school rank. For each strife you remove this way, add that one... Oh, wow. This was written really, really derpily. I copied this directly from the book. But basically the way to read this is, for each strife you remove this way, add one bonus success to the check and receive one fatigue. This is as it is written in the book, but I will... So, short version. When you're making an attack or support action, you can choose to remove an amount of strife equal to your school rank from yourself. So you heal strife. Each strife you remove, you add a bonus success to the check and turn it into a fatigue. So basically, you get to convert strife to fatigue, but you get a bonus success out of it. And this is also when you succeed, so this is checking versus success. So hey, guess what? Even though fire's not one of your primary rings, this goes great with fire stance, because you will roll strife symbols, you will take strife, which kind of is bonus successes, and then you'll be Way of the Lion. No, that's fatigue. Boom. Philosophically, what this emphasizes is no strike is without sacrifice, basically. Like, you're willing to expend your energy, become more tired, become more vulnerable to critical damage. Like, actually, fatigue is real life damage. But you will amplify your success that much more, despite your risk, and you will... basically have clarity of purpose. You will remove emotional conflict from yourself to strike hard. And that's kind of the philosophy of the school, is the Way of the Lion. So there's that. There's not much else to discuss there. It's a very straightforward ability. It's pretty good. I originally started this somewhat to discuss that a lot of people have their own opinions, like, man, this school ability's really good. This school ability's not really good. Way of the Lion's pretty good. So long as you aren't in a severe risk of taking fatigue, right? Like, you have Earth and Water as your ring, so your endurance is going to be decent. You're going to probably want to focus on ways to reduce fatigue you take, like armor and stuff. But so long as you feel pretty safe in the moment when you can take that fatigue, you can do some pretty bitchin' stuff to add a lot of bonus successes. Which in a straight-up fight is more damage, but like I said, in mass combat, you usually get your effect amplified. It usually scales with bonus successes, which not all abilities do. And you've got your starting outfit. You receive Ashigaru armor, traveling clothes, the daisho, the traditional pair, by the way. Normally FFG says, but I usually edit this down. You receive a yari. You receive any one weapon of rarity 6 or lower. So, any old thing you feel like. And we'll talk about that some when we talk about techniques you can take in your curriculum. You get 2 knives. I'm not sure why, but you do. So, I guess if you want to do the double knife fight, you get a Yumi, you get a quiver arrows, and a traveling pack. So, basically, you're a walking, talking armory. All kinds of fun stuff the Akodo Commander gets to jostle around. That's not counting the fact that you get a gift in character creation. And that's their Mon right there, their traditional Mon. An angry lion face fan. Which, by the way, a Tessin or Gunbai is an excellent pick for your weapon. But okay then, that's the rough Commander School outline. You can kind of see, like I said, what they're about. They're very much about doing things that create opportunities for allies, and about maximizing their potential success. When they succeed, they want to succeed really big, and if you fuck it up at that success, you're in danger. But let's go ahead and move on into techniques and stuff. Alright, so as is usual, completely ignore the left side of your screen. We'll talk about that later. For now, we're going to talk about the curriculum on your right side. So at rank 1, you've got all the martial skills, as kind of expected. There's a lot of broad area in there to work on, So that makes sense that you get all of them. You get your pick of any of them. All your martial arts, your tactics, your fitness, your meditation, stuff like that. You get government again because this is the signature school of the family that leads a clan. which is something we may want to look at more for other stuff. But yeah, you're presumably, especially being a commander, you're going to be in charge of people, and you may be in charge of people in non-wartime. Though I believe you can also use government to as a way to think about organizing troops and large projects. But yeah, you're going to need that to do your logistics. Excuse me, scratchy throat. You get a rank of you get a option to buy command, and you can also get performance. Now this surprised me. I think it's other than you get. Is there at least one? There's only one social skill blip, and I don't think performance shows up anywhere else. So it's very interesting that they kind of tucked it in at the first rank that performance is legit. I could see why. There's a lot of ritual and even spiritualism to the lion in some interesting places, and a lot of stuff going on. But yeah, it's a little weird. Maybe it's the Akoma influence. But yeah, you can get performance. Since that's not really iterated anywhere else other than at rank 4, you get a chance to buy any social skills you like. I don't want to say that that's a fork in the school, that's a quote-unquote build, but certainly with certain opportunities you have, you could invest in performance and have something to do in certain social situations, you can appreciate or deliver performances, speeches, acting, singing, dance, etc. Play a flute somberly to whittle away your time. I don't know. You get rank 1 kata, which we'll talk about. You get early access to Iron Forest style, which is normally a rank 2 technique. Iron Forest is the one that makes it hard for people to engage you if you've got a polearm. And you get a spear in your kit. So, this, I think, fits the Akodo school very well, and is going to be those things that you probably want to pick up, because, assuming you have your Yari and are willing to use it, which you probably are, it lets you keep people at a engagement distance, prevent them from closing, or harm them if they try to close. And I think it fits your style as you're trying to adapt to the situation, you're trying to control the situation, and you can use it to both stand firm or to be flexible and kind of advantage your advantages, Or leverage your advantages, so that sounds less redundant. A polearm gives you reach, so you use something like Iron Forest to be okay, you have to stay back away from me, stay back from me, or you'll get hurt, and kind of form defensive screens and stuff like that. I would reckon that's probably a pretty typical, for instance, if you were going to fight some experienced lion-trained Ashigaru, those guys probably have Iron Forest style, even though they're peasants. So I would say that that's a very lion tactic that a commander at a low school rank, somebody who's probably only just a Gunso leading, or maybe a guard, a watch captain leading small units of low-ranked baby samurai or Ashigaru, it would make sense for you to have these kinds of formations in defensive fighting. And like I said, it works really well with your kind of flow and build. A good option. You also can pick up honest assessment. So this is what I talked about earlier. One of the other things you do besides have all the weapons and leverage them, basically, is the Akodo school is decent at giving your allies opportunity and the ability to work through stuff with your guidance. You don't necessarily need to poke people with a spear on your own, right? You can stun somebody with Akodo's Roar and be like, hey, you hit that guy now. Or with honest assessment, which is a earth check. It's courtesy, so you gotta watch out when you might be bad at it. You might have to roll your ring dice a lot. But you can do this, and honesty is a virtue of Bushido, and your guy wrote Bushido. So what it does if you succeed normally is you pick one of the target's disadvantages, they don't apply that until the end of the scene. You can choose additional advantages per opportunity, or reduce the TN of their next skill check using the ring the disadvantage is attached to by 2. So, honest assessment is you can look at your buddy, Screaming Lady Matsu, and be like, Screaming Lady Matsu, I understand that you desperately hate all crane baby men and want to kill them all. But since we're fighting crane baby men, that's actually a really big deal, so you should just get in there and stab them. Or something else. Normally, your bullheaded bluntness would be bad and we get caught in a trap, but I know that the trap is coming, and I know that you would survive anyway, so go ahead and spring that trap. Kind of just not blunt, because that's not how honesty works in Bushido. That's not really what that means. There's still a certain amount of politeness you're supposed to have with sincerity. But a way to sincerely look at somebody and be like, it's not so bad. And it's just directly helpful. You point at an ally and go, your disadvantage doesn't matter right now. It's okay. Or even, like I said, lowering their TNs. Can be very handy. So at rank 2, you get all the martial skills again. Oh no, hey, you get another opportunity to buy command. I wonder what's core to your school. Now, in addition, you get some interesting choices, which, especially considering I said, Lord Akodo himself, Akodo no Kami, wrote leadership as his Book O Bushido, or, Zap Akodo's Big Book of War. But, you get medicine and survival, which nominally people might think are low skills. But, I also said that, the original version of leadership is very pragmatic, so it makes sense for the core Alliance school to have this kind of stuff. And, obviously, if you're playing your I will phrase it as your honor game straight, yeah, you might want to avoid medicine or survival. No, that's for other people to do. That's for, low soldiers to do. Or, you could be practical and be like, what helps you win battles? People not dying. And that is important. Triage is very important, managing your losses, that kind of stuff. So, medicine certainly could be useful to you as you're not going to be as good as a Kitsu medic, which is another school I really want to talk about. We'll get there eventually. I'll be doing these videos for years. But the ability to understand that, oh, shoot, maybe we should help and patch people up, even if I get a little bloody. I'm already a soldier. You're already getting blood on you in certain circumstances. It can be helpful to kind of understand this sort of thing. And survival is like similar to how you want government for your logistics. You could also use survival for logistics, foraging, understanding, food and supplies in the wild. An army marches on their stomach and all that. Or it could just be understanding nature and the terrain. Or, here's another thought, cavalry. I know the Lion aren't super famous for it, but I'm reasonably certain that everybody at this stage has cavalry. So, while the Unicorn are considered the masters of cavalry because they brought the big fuck-off warhorses to Rokugan, there are still Lion cavaliers of a sort, whether that's, light cav or even heavy cav charges. So, hey, being able to command a cavalry unit and have your own survival skills, it's helpful. It's useful. So, honestly, you can pick up any of those things and spin them either way you like, and it could be helpful to be like, oh, here's a good opportunity to pick up a couple. And I can say that kind of makes sense at rank 2. Like, at rank 1, most rank 1 0 EXP, or even small amounts of EXP, what is it? Is it Young Heroes is 10? Like, even most people with a little bit of spending EXP, you're still pretty babu tier when it comes to samurai. You're, either fresh out of Genpuku or within spitting distance of it. And while, yes, if you've trained as a commander school, you're probably got some of the merits to lead, but I'm also pretty sure you don't get assigned to, leading multiple units right out the gate. And maybe you don't get assigned to advanced stuff like cavalry tactics or whatever until they know that you've got a few regular fights under your belt. I'm not sure. That's speculation. But some of these higher level skills like medicine and survival and be like, okay, you understand how to... You're proven... You've lived long enough and learned enough stuff in practicum that we know as you work through your school curriculum how to, do basic war stuff, how to yell at men, how to organize men, how to hit people, right, with your martial skills, government command, etc. So now you're at rank 2, it's time for you to learn how to have your men not die and how to ride a horse. I've prevaricated on skills too long. You get rank 1 and 2 kata, you get early access to rallying cry. Is that fire? Yes, that is normally a fire rank 3. So, and this may be, by the way, why you get performance. Though it can also be command, so I don't know. But basically, this is a support action. You make a TN2 commander performance fire, either targeting a cohort, mass battle, or any number of allies in a scene or characters. If you succeed, the targets are energized, and they get to add a ring die, a kept ring die. So this is just +1 die set to opportunity strife results. This persists until the end of your next turn. If you're in a skirmish, you can make an enemy in the scene suffer 1 strife. If you're in a mass battle, the enemy army can suffer 1 panic per extra 1. So just another loud huzzah shout. I'm trying not to shout too loud, and Normalize will cut some of that down. But that's why I'm not literally yelling. So this is another example of support stuff. You can stress out an enemy. Fire is really big about strife and panic. Or you can push additional allies to be energized and get an extra opportunity, which is helpful. And if they're in fire stance, that strife does mean they get a strife, but they also get a bonus success. So yeah, that's a pretty decent use for you. You're energizing your allies, whatever form, and demoralizing your enemy. You also get access to Lightning Raid. This is attack and movement action once per scene. It's a TN3 command fire. It's got the similar rules. And if you're in a skirmish, each character increases their initiative until the beginning of the next round by your fire ring, plus bonus successes. And now in a mass battle, it's different. It's completely different. If you succeed, one enemy leader's cohort, so a cohort with an actual enemy guy in it, an NPC leading, suffers panic equal to fire ring plus your bonus successes, and then they have opportunity. For one up during a skirmish, you can immediately perform a strike action, and during a mass battle, you can immediately perform an assault action against the chosen cohort. So, yes, it's more action economy. It's pretty cheap. It's only an opportunity. Hey, guess what? If you do Rallying Cry, Lightning Raid, it's a pretty big deal. But you only get to do it once, but that's what it is. It's a lightning fast raid and ambush effect. And it will amplify everybody. Everybody gets a little bit of bonus to be like, okay, we're going to go faster, and sometimes you can get an extra attack out of it. Very potent. There's a reason why it's once per scene. In rank 3, hey, guess what? You get martial skills again. G, the game really wants you to be good at tactics, and possibly fitness or meditation, and also martial arts. Now, your other skills are interesting. Government comes back, once again reinforcing that logistical aspect. You're going to want some of that. It's going to make sense for your character, especially as you rank up in your school and are probably literally ranking up in your, whatever your fealty organization is. You're probably getting higher and higher postings. You get sentiment, which, honestly, sentiment could be very good earlier because sentiment is about reading people and understanding lies. It's kind of funny that as part of their school, the Akodo Commanders don't start getting into that until rank 3. But it is a very useful skill for a commander to be able to study the enemy and be like, this is a feint, your terms aren't legit, I'm about to be attacked, I'm not about to be attacked, you're legit kind of thing, and to measure people and enemy commanders. I guess you need some experience to do that. Also, you get composition, which is interesting, but I guess everybody needs something to do in their free time, and like I said, Akodo no Kami himself wrote a book, so I guess it kind of makes sense. You're not really going to see that one repeated, but similar to performance that way. But artisan skills are of high value to the samurai class, so it could be interesting for you to have this. And you've got a little something to do in your downtime to write your war journals or your poems or whatever. And adding a little bit of fluff variety to your character is not terrible. You can rank 1 to 3 kata. You get a lot of kata, kids. You get access to Touchstone of Courage. I'll talk about that one first because that's easier for me to find in the book. But Touchstone of Courage is a rank 3 Earth. It also applies during mass combat because you could any number of characters or a cohort in mass battle. If you succeed normally, you increase their composure by your Earth Ring until the end of the scene, and can heal strife with opportunities. If in a mass battle, you increase your discipline by your Earth Ring, and can remove panic. So again, this is the supportive, as obviously evidenced with Earth. This is the supportive Akodo Commander. The, hey, I'm right here, we're doing good, everybody do good, and you get to up your composure. I believe you can target yourself with these two, because they don't explicitly say you can't, but you can, Touchstone of Courage, alright, everybody, we're in this together, heal strife, bring them up together, do that stuff. It can boost yourself, and it can be very supportive. And importantly, much like I said, hey, composition gives you some stuff to do in your spare time. Touchstone of Courage explicitly works in intrigues. So, if you are usually mostly in other situations, you can indeed, work them into an intrigue and actually help people in ways that you definitely can't with, like, Rallying Cry or Lightning Raid. But yes, it is very helpful to you in a lot of ways. And, it directly interacts with mass combat. The other one you can get is you can get early access to the Void Shuji, a Samurai's Fate. This is an early rank 4. It's a command void check, which is TN5, and it's got the whole any number of characters mass battle. If you succeed during a skirmish, each target you pick ignores any critical effect, any strikes they take, or any critical strike severity equal to your Void Ring plus bonus successes. There's your magic word. This effect persists until the end of the screen, at which point they take effect. So, Void Ring plus bonus successes, depending on where you're going with this, you have a decent spread. You're hopefully going to be getting close to 5, because you got to keep some extra dice in there, It's TN5. But you can target any number of characters. But they can ignore reasonable effects, and I assume, based on the verbiage, this is both ignore stuff they already have and ignore future stuff. Until they take effect. But yeah, it's pretty good to be like, no, you can keep going. You're fine. And then in a mass battle, your army gains the Fearless Army ability. You get a special ability. At the end of the round, you remove Panic equal to your glory rank. Lasts until the end of the scene. Both effects are pretty decent and can be used multiple ways. But yes, it's a fairly good ability to be like, nope, still good, still fighting. And it lets you, like I said, play that combat support character. You are the leader of the team. You are naturally in a leadership role as an Akodo Commander. And you will be doing a lot of yelling at people to do stuff. And Samurai Fate is just the rub some dirt on it. You're not dead yet. Keep going. Yell. You're like that one boss in Valkyria Chronicles who can yell his soldiers back to life. You'd have to score a shitload of bonus successes for that to work, by the way, to actually yell people back to life. But yeah, it's theoretically possible. You could explode some dice. I don't know. Sorry, I adjusted my mic arm. I gotta give myself room that I can reach my mouse. And then that was what I call it, rank 3? Yeah, so rank 4. Social skills finally as a category is here. You can buy up a lot of skills you've been wanting to freely and get them all in your thing. And so, like I said, technically performance comes back here. You can get some other stuff in there. You can get games, I guess, technically. That's something I think that is a little weird, is that, like, they don't get any games in here. Where's all the Shogun go? I guess they just fight people instead. You get another round of government, a fairly robust skill to have. Martial arts, melee, and tactics show up, so you still get your core skills of doing stuff. Tactics or martial arts, melee. And command, obviously, we cover social skills. Now, here we break from the trend a little. You get a rank 1 to 4 fire shuji. So you get an actual shuji as your technique group, not a kata. You can also get early access to Rouse the Soul. It's normally a rank 5 Void Shuji. And Rouse the Soul is just when you make a social skill Void or Theology Void check, you can get an extra opportunity spend to remove certain conditions like Afflicted, Enraged, Exhausted, Intoxicated, or Unconscious. That's just a really solid ability for you to have, like I said, as the support character to, like, yell at people, possibly yelling at people for purposes of a Samurai's Fate. You can also yell at them to stop being unconscious or stop being afflicted, which is a very interesting ability to have. And you also get access to the kata, specifically, which is Disappearing World style. So this is a rank 4 fire, and basically, if you do it, your action they have to resist. You can do an op spend, I should say, when you're making fire attacks. The opponent has to resist with a fitness check or suffer dazed and fatigue equal to their shortfall, increase the TN per extra opportunity spent. So it's a way to daze people to make them more vulnerable and also give them extra fatigue. Pretty standard stuff. Especially considering, like I said, even though it's not your core rings in your school, fire is obviously like a secondary ring for your character. And then finally in rank 5, you get access to scholar skills broadly. This, I think, makes sense. You've gotten a couple of them spread out, but the scholar skills as a group is like, okay, you're getting pretty up there in rank. Now's a good time to diversify, or you can just take more government. And then martial arts, melee, meditation, and tactics are your regular skills, continuing that trend throughout. You get access to rank 1 to 5 Earth Shuji. You get access to striking as Void, as a kata, which I've talked about this before. Striking as Void is just great for your action economy. You start out Earth and Water, but very much as you grow up, you're going to be doing a lot of Fire and Void, and still Earth. Water makes sense for your temperament, but you kind of grow out of it as far as a technique base goes. And then you get access to Bend with the Storm. So this is very interesting, because this is an Air Shuji that is rank 5, but it makes a lot of sense. Basically, when you make a social air skill, you can spend opportunity to choose an advantage or disadvantage, and the target of your social skill comes to believe that you have it, and you haven't given it away, and they have to roll something to tell where it is. Which, like I said, Akodo can be pretty practical. It's not outright sneaky, you just imply it, which can help with certain things to kind of make people think you are not what you are, or that to think you're good at something you're not, or to think you're bad at something you're not, and kind of work that out. A very decent effect. And then rank 6, Mastery ability, is Akodo's final lesson. Once per game session during a skirmish or mass battle, if you fail a check, you can immediately attempt the check again, treating it as target number 1. So, this is great. You get a once per game session reset button. This is what I said, the maximized effort. The Akodo school is really about, okay, you're going to do it at the moment when it most matters, and when your opponent thinks it doesn't matter. Right, so you're up at rank 6. You can, take a check that's super hard, bollocks it up completely, botch it up in a skirmish or mass battle. And then you can go, no, actually, I'm going to do it because I planned on it. You only thought I was doing it, but it was just a feint. Now I'm going to do it effortlessly. A real powerhouse move. Alright, sorry. In real life, I paused there for a second or two to wet my throat down, because I was thirsty. But let's talk about technique recommendations. You can now look at the left side. So at rank 1, you can pick some rank 1 katas. Here's some decent choices. So some of these are variable, and I'll explain. Warrior's Resolve is alphabetically at the end, but it's, in general, a good selection. Warrior's Resolve is you spend a void point once per scene as a support action to remove fatigue equal to your honor rank. Well, hey, guess what? You start at honor 5, or honor rank 5, I should say, right away. So that's a pretty good point to get in there and get that, because then you can take off 5 fatigue, which means you can offset your fatigue gains from your school ability. It's just, in general, a really good one to do. I've put striking as here, but you notice I didn't specify which one. Just any of them. Whichever striking as you prefer. Don't pick striking as air. Striking as air isn't great, but in general, whichever striking as you didn't pick at rank 0, at start, basically, is good. And also striking as fire can be effective in there, and just take your pick as what your favorite one is. So the last two, like I said, these are more situational, but can be pretty interesting. So Hawk's Precision lets you increase your range with a range attack. And in general, I think that's a good choice if you're going the ranged route. You can take martial arts ranged. Melee is slightly more focused in your curriculum, but you could still decently get a smattering of ranged in your school ranks. And it's very effective that way. So you can just, manipulate the range a lot. And if you are doing that more focused thing, it makes sense. So there's that. Also, Soaring Slice. Because if you're not going the ranged route, if you're going the melee route, you might want some options to engage people at range. Now, obviously, like I said, you have Iron Forest style as a early access in your front rank. It's, very effective to you. So you've got that way to kind of engage people at slightly longer range and prevent them from getting close up. Well, what if you're fighting a guy who's farther away than you, and he won't let you get close, or something? Soaring Slice. Throw shit at people. You've got 2 knives to start. So your character is interestingly in a place where they can do this sort of thing. And knives are concealable, so you can totes quick draw a knife and throw it, I'm pretty sure. Because you can ready it for free as part of an attack action. So that's very, very handy. Very, very sophisticated. And lets you just, like I said, fight people at a longer range than they think you can fight them at. In general, a good choice for this school, and it's kind of not really dirty tricks, but like I said, practical. You're pragmatic. Oh, I bet there's a quote in Leadership which is like, if yonder enemy stands too far away and shoots at you with arrows, just throw something at him that he doesn't think you would throw. Can be handy. I was distracted by a fly, sorry. So, rank 1 to 2. Now, you'll notice this seems slim. I'll explain why in a second. But at the basic level, I can recommend only 2. The first is Tactical Assessment, because that is so much your thing. Leadership is literally called out in the fluff description, along with Bayushi's Lies. When you make initiative checks, depending on your ring, you get new things to do. You can learn advantages or resistance. You can you can make them not apply disadvantages. You can make terrain obscuring. You can do all kinds of stuff, which just helps you a lot. It's great. You should get it. The other thing I picked was Crescent Moon Style. When you guard, you get a special ability to strike back. That's pretty decent just in general for your typage. It flows well with the fact that you probably picked up Iron Forest last time. So, you gotta kind of poke back and do some other stuff. And in general, you can be very protective. That's good for a defensive fighter. But also, I didn't want to write this, but I will recommend it to you. Just pick any other close combat kata at rank 2 you need. You've already got Iron Forest, but then the whole rest is just what kind of stuff do you got around. So, Veiled Menace probably doesn't make any sense. Open Hand might not make sense because you're not going to be going unarmed. But all that, you got a free weapon at your rank, so it does do whatever you want. Did you pick up a Tetsubo or a Tessen or something? Pick Rushing Avalanche. There are guys in, I believe it's Ikuma Sanuri? I don't know, that one throws me off. That one's not a typical name I see. But in her card art, she's got guys wearing Lion Clan armor wielding Tetsubos, so that's totally a thing. Are you just your normal Daisho, or are you going like katana in one hand, fan in the other, spinning blades? Or just be like a Matsu and kick people? Are you not necessarily doing a lot of mass combat, but you're doing a lot of, or even if you are doing mass combat, are you doing a lot of challenges? Are you doing a lot of duels? Take your pick of an Iaijutsu cut. Did you pick up something like a Jite or another ensnaring weapon? Coiling Serpent style. Whatever one floats your boat. You've got a lot of options here. And this is really what I've been talking about with, one of the other themes of the school besides just being the support guy, being the captain archetype, is the Akodo school is set up to be incredibly flexible and versatile with their weapon choices. Basically, any weapon you've got that's got a rank 2 kata, pick it up. It's perfect. It's great for you, depending on what floats your boat. So at rank 3, you get rank 1 to 3 kata. These I was a little less sure of. So I think, honestly, any of your trio of rings could work. Heart Piercing could work if you're doing a lot of fighting yourself directly, but you might not be. And obviously later, even if it's a higher TN martial arts, you can always Akodo's Final Lesson it. And bonus successes count. But you also, depending on your build, you may not be going directly to fight people. Flowing Water is pretty good because it lets you make a range at 0 to 2, regardless of your weapon's actual range. That fits very much the flexible, adaptable style. Your opponent can't necessarily judge your range or control your range because you still get to fight them in such a way. And then Crimson Leaves is Earth, but that lets you disarm your opponent. You give them some physical damage, slap them, which is also plus bonus successes, of course. And you can knock away one of their weapons if they don't resist, which can be pretty good in an open combat fight. It really depends on what your style of fighting is and where your rings are. So, yeah, it's pretty open-ended. And also, much like that, I put Battle in the Mind here. Void is certainly a thing you could do, and you can do some shenanigans with Void, but I don't know if Battle of the Mind is necessarily a very optimal pick, but it certainly thematically makes sense for your character. And remember, you might be doing some duels and some mini-duel stuff in fights, challenging and so on. So, I had to do an interesting thing for rank 1 to 4 Fire Shuji, which is just, there aren't a lot of those. So, as obviously, here's the thing. You could pick up any of these that are not rank 4 at any time before that. And if you already get Rallying Cry, like I said, you're going to get Lightning Raid. If you really wanted Dazzling Performance, you could pick that up a rank earlier, though that doesn't necessarily fit your character. So, Bravado, I think, is a good one. You can make people think you are more gloryful than you are. That really fits. Maybe not necessarily the Akodo aesthetic. The Akodo are supposed to be a little bit more calm, a little bit more collected. They are the focal point, the strategic mind driving the lion engine. But in general, Bravado is very lion. And it can make sense for your character if you're doing certain things on the battlefield or in even social schemes. And that does key off performance, which is the thing you get at a couple opportunities, to be like, hey, I'm actually much more important than you think I am. I'm much more famous and well-known. So that can kind of affect things. Or you can use it to strategically appear not as gloryful, and you'd be like, oh, I'm a regular guy. Don't worry about me. Don't worry about me. I'm a regular dude. I'm not a famous general who is seeking the most advantageous moment. Sort of thing. You can draw attention. The other thing is, I did something I don't always like to do, but I thought it was relevant for this because there aren't a lot of those fiery shujis, is I went outside of the core book. With core book schools, I don't like to go outside of core book because I don't want to be the guy who's like, oh, you should have bought this book and that other thing. But honestly, this one can work. So I wanted to specifically throw it out there because even though All Shall Fear Me is normally rank 3, it makes a good point to reference it, like I said. Like, Dazzling Performance maybe doesn't work, but certainly as a leader of men, All Shall Fear Me could be a thing. Whether that's to appear like you're controlling the field of battle through sheer force of will or trying to make yourself appear more fearsome. It's a scheme action, it's a commander performance check fire with TN4. If you succeed, if they target you with a social check, they receive 2 strife until the end of the scene. If you fail, you receive 4 strife. And you can spend opportunity to increase the amount of strife they suffer. So, 1, this is a great button to keep people out of your business if you're stuck in an intrigue you don't want to be in, right? This is a great button to pull off very fast, make a big commander performance check, and be just like, yeah, what of it? Just don't bother me. Don't come at me, don't try to roll on me. It works out. And I pick All Shall Fear Me over Crackling Laughter. Crackling Laughter is really more an Akoma thing. All Shall Fear Me could definitely be more Akodo, where you're just like, you stand there and just at people. You just be gruff. And then also in the battlefield, if you don't want people to target you with social shit and try and like debuff you or anything, whether it's a skirmish, a duel, whatever, you could totally just be like, yeah, don't do that. We're just here to fight. So I thought it was a good one to throw in there as a possibility. And then so you get rank 1 to 5 Earth Shuji. Obviously this will expand as we go on. But the Immovable Hand of Peace is the obvious choice. That is the rank 5 Earth Shuji. So obviously that's important as a possible choice. You get a once per game session during a scheme action during a duel or skirmish. You make a command check targeting everybody. If you succeed, it becomes an intrigue between the principal characters for a number of rounds equal to your bonus successes. So maybe you can do it as a other thing. And if you have an opportunity, you can even do this during a mass battle or some other form of conflict, which the game is not clear on. Leaving it open-ended if there are other conflict types in the future. But yeah, this in general is a really good choice for you as a commander to just be like, if you see yourself in a bad situation, you're in a fight you don't want to fight, whether it's for honor or for practicality, like they're going to kick your ass, you can be like, hold up, everybody just put your weapons away, let's just talk about it like gentlemen. A perfectly reasonable approach. And remember, it's once per game session, and if you just push yourself up to rank 6, you can apply your mastery ability to that in a pinch and just be like, no, we're going to make this, even if I failed, we're going to make this TN1, and then I'm going to get a lot of bonus successes to make this last some rounds. The only other really option is you can go down to rank 4 and get Pillar of Calm, which has a similar effect, which lets you basically wind down the session, and if you target all the leaders, you can de-escalate the conflict to 1 level, mass battle to skirmish, skirmish to duel, duel to an intrigue, and keep de-escalating. So that can be another good way to avoid a bad fight and can make sense for your character. You see the tactical picture like, well, their army's going to kick our ass because we're in a bad situation, but I can talk to their leader down into like a small conflict of just right out on the field and be like, shing, hey, bro, we don't have to fight like this with our armies. We can just you and me fight. And if you get enough escalation, you can be like, bro, let's just duel right here, right now. Or, do we even have to duel? Can't we talk about this? Maybe my Akoma friend can chat you out of this. That kind of stuff. So, both of those are really good at manipulating conflict types, which can be useful to you because even though you're really good at mass combats and skirmishes and stuff, there may be ones where you feel like you're not in a good position to win, and that is very Akodo to be like, I'm not in a good position, let us recontextualize this problem so that I am in a good position, without offending anybody or doing anything dishonorable. So, all in all, that kind of encapsulates your school curriculum. I think they're very interesting. I like to talk about, like, what form the character takes as you work through their school curriculum. And you'll see, with an Akodo Commander, leadership skills are definitely in there. There's a lot of command. There's a lot of tactics. And there can be a lot of martial arts and a lot of fitness. You're a combat character. A lot. You're a pure bushi. you will be doing a lot of fighting and guarding. Now, with your addition of government, like I said, you've got a lot of logistical knowledge. You can just as easily do your guarding and fighting from the safety of a castle, directing troops, organizing movements, making sure your army is equipped and stuff. You don't have to be an on-the-field guy, but boy howdy, are you great at that too. And with a couple of opportunities to take some social skills, you can take a little performance, you can take some other stuff, you've got a lot of command. You can also, in a lot of ways, interact in social scenarios too. Not perfectly, but a couple of your shuji choices can work in an intrigue, and you can bring your character vibe to social situations and intrigues. But, like with some of those choices, like I'm recommending All Shall Fear Me, or the way you can do some stuff, like Rouse the Soul, or whatever, Touchstone of Courage, you bring your own unique feel to those. You were not just, bull in a china shopping your way in there, but you are still very much, I'm a military mind doing military things in this situation. So yeah, I think you're very good at kind of this stuff. And then, like I said, flexibility is your watchword. Whether it's flexibility with weapons and attacks, flexibility with tipping advantages or disadvantages on their head, flexibility with turning failure into success. Like, you've got a pretty decent build to come at problems in different situations and find the right approach and maximize it. So now we'll talk some much, much shorter segments about your synergy with your clan and school and stuff. Alright, so, Lion Clan. There's a big lion symbol. You've seen this before if you watched my Akoma video, because I did it on Courtiers. So, their ring is water, their skill is tactics, status is 35, because they're one of the, what I call the 3 core clans. They're one of the hands of the Emperor. They're real up close on the Imperial lands and stuff, so they get slightly higher status. Families are Akodo, Ikoma, Kitsu, Matsu. And, yeah, that's really all there is to say about the rough outlines. So, water obviously fits with the Akodo school because water is also one of your key rings, so that means for sure you're starting with water 3, and then you might have, depending on your family selection, you could have, which we'll talk about a little bit more later, you could, roll all the way up to, Earth 3 or something, kind of spread that out, but we'll talk about that more when we talk about families. So water is on point. Tactics kind of emphasizes the militarization of the Lion Clan. They are the right hand of the Emperor. They are the bulk of his military forces, both in the Imperial legions and in the form of the actual, militant clan who is out there to defend the Emperor against stuff and things. And they are often doing military things, and they were founded by Akodo, so, yeah. Makes sense. Not much else to talk about here. It's, like I said, the signature school of the founder of the clan, so naturally the clan kind of goes with it. And in case this is your first time watching one of these, or you haven't watched one in a while, I don't like to go through the entire possible clan family combinations of a school, even though there's really, other than logic of the narrative, there's no real reason not to be of any particular school. For instance, like Shiba Sukune was originally going to be trained by the Akodo until she had to come back and be trained by the Shiba for reasons of personal tragedy. But I study probability, so I was really good at that class in school. That's, talking about permutations and combinations of stuff, that's a pain in the butt. There's too many to handle. So we talk mostly about just the Lion Clan and their families, like right now. So families, it's pretty simple. We'll mention the Akodo family themselves are obviously up there, so they get Glory 44. Their ring is air or earth, so, I mentioned earlier that otherwise it's a little oddball that they get some high-level air stuff. So you could take air from your family, and you could have a certain amount of subtlety, which makes sense. Or you could go whole hog on that earth, which means that you have, you'd start with water 3, earth 3, do some stuff. But, your skills are command and government, so obviously ties in perfectly to the school. And your strike wants at 5 Koku. This is a pretty standard build. It slots in perfectly. It makes sense, obviously, for an Akodo to be in that school. And hey, you match perfectly. It's almost like it was made for you. But also, interestingly enough, the Akoma family fits in pretty good, too. So, you'll get a ring rollover if you pick water, but you could also pick air as your ring choice. So, you air or water. And your skills are composition and performance, which are both in the Akodo Commander curriculum. And could definitely make sense if you were raised by a more social recording-based family, and then, for whatever reasons, you were put in a dojo to be a military commander. But it would fit in and it would mesh perfectly well in the long run. You would actually get an opportunity to improve some of those starting skills and actually mesh with them. Could be an interesting design choice. Kitsu is Void or Water, and then Meditation and Theology, Glory 40. I don't think Kitsu really fits super well. Like, Meditation obviously is a skill you can take, but its use, other than for personal, like, fluff reasons and other stuff, is mostly its initiative in duels. So it doesn't necessarily fit with your build as part of the school. Like I said, I really want to take a look at the Kitsu Medic School, because that's a super interesting concept. That's probably a better fit for the family as a Bushi, but you could make it work. Theology and Meditation can work for you. It's just an unusual build that doesn't necessarily mesh with stuff you'll be doing later. And then Matsu is Earth or Fire. Like we said, Fire is basically your sub-ring, as part of the Akodo, or similarly Void with Kitsu. Like, that's a perfectly good opportunity to get extra in on that fire and stuff. And your skills are Command and Fitness, so Command comes back, but Fitness is your more martial focus. Much better if you're thinking about doing things directly in a direct fashion. You've got the same glory and same starting wealth. Because, hey, those families have actually swapped championship a lot. So either of them works really good with the school. All in all, most of these can fit with the Akodo Commander school, as kind of makes sense. Though I've said that before, that some don't. They have, much more wildly different archetypes. The Lion are, I don't want to say homogenous, but they are actually in a similar enough fit, I think, that they can all kind of mesh well with their schools. So they work out. Any of those could be an interesting choice. And like I said in the last section, it's a whole thing I do where I don't talk about literally every family clan combo. Alright, and that is basically the substance of the episode. That's Enter the Dojo. It's out. I hope you enjoyed that. Looking at it, I see the merits. Like a lot of people say, Akodo Commander is really good, and it is. They are good both at mass combat and just at lots of general stuff, because their ability is very solid in general, and they have a lot of inherent flexibility, like I said, both in their physical kit and in some of their techniques and skill selections. It's a very interesting school to see. Very appropriate for a lot of stuff. And, check it out sometime if you're thinking about playing a character who's good at stuff and things that I said. And honestly, if I were to say overall, I'd say that I've said sometimes with some schools, you can see, okay, here are two clearly separate disciplines or paths you can take inside this school. And, well, obviously you could follow both eventually if you spent enough EXP. They're definitely not necessarily the direct way you can do stuff. I would say that's not how Akodo Commander works. It's just flexible. It's more of a circle shape than a path shape. It's just, you can go in a lot of different directions all at once when you need to, based on how you've built your character, what your options are, what your choices are, and what suits your situation. Interesting build. So in general, I don't know what school will do next. I'm kind of liking doing Akodo as, the iconic central school of their founders. I know there's a lot of school that I like, but I haven't necessarily done a lot of, the core ones. Like, we did do Togashi Monk. That was pretty good. And we did do Heated Defender. But I figure maybe I could hit up, like, Doji Diplomat. I still want to do Asawa Elementalist just for the sake of doing it. And other stuff, maybe we could hit up Shinjo Scout. Though another thought I had was, I name drop both Matsu and Utaku schools in this. That could be interesting. There's a lot of options open, so if you guys got any preference, let me know. Otherwise, I don't know, maybe I'll finally scratch them off my list. Scratch some other stuff off my list, Because, let's see, what all have we done, actually? Let me do a full inventory of my assets. What have we done here? So, we did do Asawa already. That was a fun one, right? Did we do that? I honestly can't remember. Load faster my pictures. So is Kaito, there is Asawa. Okay, so we did both of those, like I thought. We did do Iuchi, and we did Kakita, we did do Hida, and we did Togashi, I know that one, and did Nuramoto. We did Shosuro for Scorpion, so either of the Bayushi schools could be fun. I know that Bayushi Death Dealer isn't core, but that could be a fun breakaway too, to be like, here's Bayushi Bushi. Were they worth it? Yes. Both in the fact that the weight was worth it, because they're much more unique and interesting than they might have been coming out at core, and also just, yes, they're good. What else we got? So I think that's Togashi. We did Toritaka, obviously, that was the last one. Togashi, Shoshuro, Niramoto, Kakita, Kaito, Isawa, Ikoma. Yeah. So, ones I haven't doubled up on, I guess, would be Crab. This is my second Lion one overall. We haven't doubled up on Crab, Crane, or Unicorn. So, yeah, probably, like, I don't want to do Matsu right away, even though I mentioned that I want to do that earlier. So, I'm thinking, since I did do Osawa, Doji Diplomat is probably the good core one to hit up. And maybe the Shinjo School. Or possibly Utaku. I'll see how stuff shakes out. I've been doing this for it's got to be nearly a year now, doing these off and on. So keeping track of this stuff is sometimes hard to remember. Anyway, speaking of doing stuff for years and, year passing, it's almost December, and it's been clarified that according to FFG's release update schedule, which they have refined slightly, I'll talk about that too, but it's currently projected that Path of Waves will release in December. At least, last anybody checked. So, until that's a day for sure, that's not locked in, but recently a lot of products were pushed back from December to January. Path of Waves and the Companion Adventure were not one of them, so, fingers crossed, we're going to actually get that sucker, that big boy book in there, and that'll be very interesting to look at. Look forward to a review of that when it comes out, because okay, when it comes out in PDF form. Maybe I'll have some commentary about some stuff that's in it before that, but as you know, I refuse to buy the book. I refuse to acknowledge the book exists on my channel until FFG does me a solid and releases it in the PDF format, the ultimate format for a modern person like myself. But yeah, hopefully we get there. And so FFG is moving away from quarters and moving away from more ambiguous phases in their upcoming page, and it's basically it's either in development, it's shipping, or it's released. I think is the simplification. There's 3 steps to upcoming. It's either we're making it, it's made, and it's coming to us, and it's coming out of the warehouse to end users, end buyers. And they're going to try and nail stuff down to more months, with the caveat that obviously that means that depending on how things shake out, those dates might have to move. They're not locked in until they're locked in, as it were. Several of the dates they've have hit that are secured for other products, so we can be reasonably sure that when they announce a specific date, that's definitely that date. But when it's still month windows, it's possible those could be pushed back, but I think RPG books are on a different pipeline than other stuff. The Genesis Expanded Player's Guide and GM Screen have already both come out, for instance, or will have officially come out by the time this video is live and stuff. I think it's a Black Friday release, technically, but yeah, so that all flowed perfectly. So yeah, hopefully Path of Waves, and then either when Path of Waves is out or very soon before it is out and all the previews are done, you're probably going to see an announcement article, for whatever is next in the L5R pipeline based on the previous years, because we got, Core, Emerald Empire, and then Shadowlands was announced. So we may see a book about Dragon if that's the direction they're going next. So we'll see about that. A lot of people are predicting, based on the first year-ish of coming out, that, we're expecting big, long, setting-focused source books like Emerald Empire and Path of Waves to be the second half of the year, and then 2 smaller, more clan-focused source books in the beginning half. So next year we may get Dragon and Lion, right? Because it's C, C, D. There's nobody before L, right? Yeah. And then it's Poor, Phoenix, Scorpion, and Unicorn. Though, obviously, some Unicorn players will have some interesting things to play around with in Path of Waves, because there's, for instance, there is a confirmed actual Ujik Diviner school, which, as a GM, I will tell you, I would be perfectly okay with a Moto playing that and not playing a Moto Avenger, for instance, if they wanted to do something slightly different. Because the Avengers are very much focused on that concept of, defeating the Dark Moto, putting the undead back where they belong, and kind of stuff like that, whereas the Diviners are more of the... Some people have been directly comparing them to Death Priests. I expect they'll be a little different than that, because this is obviously technically the extant Ujik spirituality, which isn't extinct, because there are still some Ujik tribesmen left out there. But that could be a thing that Unicorn players could do, because they occasionally take on Gaijin, and there'll be some other interesting stuff, so we'll see. They have some interesting options. They've name-dropped a lot of schools, some of which are generic, some of which are not, and we'll see what happens. I know that, kind of like Courts of Stone, some of the preview stuff makes some people nervous, which leads me to the immediate conclusion that it will be fucking nothing and you were mad for no reason, but that's just me. I told you, I'm a little salty about how people think of the Deer Clan. We'll see if I can remember how salty I am, like I said, in a few months. I might do another special episode. But yeah, that's the news, so let me know what your preferred school is, if you've got one for me to do another one of these on, or if you have any other topics we can hit. Actually, you know what? Just remember that I thought of this. Another thing to think in the future is, maybe to celebrate when Path of Waves come out, one of the next couple of episodes will be the Worldly Ronin School in core. We can talk about that one, because that's got a very interesting build design. Or maybe I'll save that for when the PDF drops. I don't know. But that could be another future one. Let me know if you're excited about that. I can hit that one up a little bit more. And maybe it would be better to wait until the book actually comes out to discuss some of the more fluff aspects of Ronin. Who knows? We'll see. Alright, I'm gonna let you guys go. This video's already gone on for a million years, but hopefully you're still here. And I will say that if you're watching this episode on YouTube, be sure to give us a like. If you have any comments, leave them in the comment section down below, or join our Discord. That link is in the description, or on our channel page, as always. If you're new here and haven't already subscribed to our channel to get more L5R videos and other content, we do shows like, What's Up, our regular podcast, where we talk about a lot of stuff, including tabletop gaming. We do actual plays of various games. We got a few on the website archived. We'll get to some L5R someday. We talk about other Fantasy Flight products, lots of other fun stuff. So check it out. And even if you're already subscribed, just ring that bell for notifications so you always know when we post a new video. Okay? Everybody enjoy your turkey coma. I'm going to move on and let you know that also consider supporting us on Patreon, like it says at the front of the show. Because longer form stuff like this usually has an audio update, which... yeah, it doesn't have all the visual aids, but it's long and you can still listen to it on the go. So check that out. You can get that stuff early for as little as $1 a month, and it really helps us out. Helps the channel grow. Maybe get some more bigger, better production value in the future. All right, now I'm really going to go. I got to go wage a mass battle on Turkey.